OCO sisters and brothers and sisters, I want to welcome you here again at this time and in this way. As we take a look at during this Christmas season, this holiday time, we think about friends, family, loved ones, community, service work that we're doing, and to think about how we can help improve the quality of other people's lives, and not just ourselves, through the example that we set for others to follow. And on that note, I would like to take this time on this Christmas year 2014, I want to get the date on there, to once again thank the supporters of Four Winds Native American Ministry in helping in their part to get another steer to the butcher, and also to contribute $2,000 to the MCC meat canning program again this year, which helps feed people's in area food banks, food programs, soup kitchens, and school programs where we live, and also provides international relief to people across North America and around the world. In cooperation with the Mennonite community, this week 10,000 cans, 10,000 2-pound cans of chicken were canned here where we live, near where we live, and are being added to the multitude of other 2-pound cans that are going places around the world, including war-torn areas right now, Syria, and Turkey, and Bosnia, Serbia, North Korea, many nations, Africa, all around the globe, and across North America. We keep 1,000 cans, 10%, for distribution here in northeast Oklahoma. And it's good that our ministry is a part of that, Four Winds Ministry is a part of that. And so I'm here today speaking from Sacred Hoop, who helped a contribution towards the steer to make that part possible, to help provide meat for the elderly and families here in the Tulsa and Inola and Choteau and prior areas, you know. And there's the need right now is just unbelievable. So it makes my heart sing that they helped out with that, and not only that, but also too in communities where they live. So, and these are ongoing. This is not one-time deal. They help out all year long with these things, and it really makes my heart sing to be a part of people like that, people who care, who make a difference. And so, on that note, we're going to on this third Sunday of Advent, we are going to take a look at what I want to call Tipi Dreams today. And our reading from the Hebrew Bible, if you want to get your Hebrew Bible out, our reading today is from Psalm 126. When God restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dream. Then our mouth was filled with laughter, and our tongue with shouts of joy. When it was said among the nations, God has done great things for them. God has done great things for us, and we rejoice. Restore our fortunes, O God, like the watercourses in the Negev. May those who sow in tears reap with shouts of joy. Those who go out weeping, bearing the seed for sowing, shall come home with shouts of joy, carrying their sheaves. And our reading from the New Testament today is going to be from 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 24, and David Bartlett writes here in this is the feasting on the Word. This is the lectionary. And he writes that, there are many people who believe that Thessalonians was actually one of, if not the first letter written by Paul. And so when we think about Thessalonians, we think about the fact that he was having to address issues in the new church right from the get-go. So in that sense, we have to remember that challenges, obstacles, personal agendas are not new to churches. And so we think about that as we read this part in 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 24. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. Do not quench the Spirit. Do not despise the words of prophets, but test everything. Hold fast to what is good. Abstain from every form of evil. May the God of peace sanctify you entirely, and may your spirit and soul and body be kept sound and blameless at the coming of Jesus, the one who calls you is faithful, and he will do this. At this time of Christmas, I want to ask a pretty straightforward question, especially when we think about what Paul is saying here. Should we really wait for God to make things better? And the reason I bring this up is because the issues that Paul was addressing to the Thessalonians, at least according to David Bartlett here and many others, was the issue of when is Christ coming back? Now this is first century Palestine. This church, Thessalonian church, probably only been around a few years, maybe a little more. And yet the people are already doubting whether or not Jesus was going to come back. And because of that, it was causing controversy and turmoil within the church. Paul, in his way, was trying to get the people to think about, hold true to the faith. Stay in prayer, trust in spirit. Don't do anything that will interfere with spirit flowing. Now, when we do our Indian religious ceremonies, there are many different ways. In the Southwest, where I do most of my doings outside of here in Oklahoma, we like to use teepees. Because in the desert, a teepee is a pretty handy thing to have. And we light that sacred fire, and it goes for 4 days. We keep that fire going for 4 days. In order to do that, people have to tend that fire around the clock. And a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, we get somebody who volunteers to do an all-night prayer vigil and keep that fire going. And the reason they do this is because even though we're doing this ceremony for other purposes, they know Spirit will come. Spirit is in that sacred fire. That fire is God's presence in the camp. That fire is Spirit's presence among us. Just like this fire right here on this table is Spirit's presence among us, and God's presence right here among us. And I believe in these things. I believe in this fire being here, reminding us that God is present here and here. And it's we who choose to quench that, to shut it out. or to welcome it and let it thrive. So I believe in these things, and these people, they come and they pray because they know if they sit with that fire and they pray hard, they pray sincere, with truth and meaning, that they will have a dream. And that dream will be a message from Creator to help them in a good way, and to share that dream with the people. Then they take that dream, a lot of times, and they're powerful. They're real powerful. Some are subtle, some are very forceful. But that's a very powerful dream. It gives them purpose. And they go out into the world with that dream. And that confidence that God is with them. And they go home. And they start telling their friends and their family about this powerful dream they had, this vision that they've got to go and do this thing. And then what happens is, people say, well, what if something goes wrong? What if you don't get the help that you want? Or, you know, we're really busy. You can't help out with that. Oh yeah, you know, we really believe in you. You can do it, but you know, I got so much going on right now, I can't do that. And so people, they start over time and they get bombarded by all these challenges and distractions and paying the bills and struggling with feeding the family and raising the kids and dealing with the PTA and dealing with the controversies around them and, you know, troublesome co-workers, and friends having crisis, and family having crisis, you know, that they start to waver, start to doubt. You start to wonder if they just made the whole thing up. Susan was one of those people, that powerful dream. Go back home to set up a service in her community that was desperately needed. A daycare center that was going to help out not only with children in school, but also to give parents a night out. It was going to take more than just her to make it happen. It was going to take her having to get an education on how to run that kind of business. It was going to take her having to find support and financial resources to help set it up, to learn how to run a small business. It was going to take community. And she was excited. She was on fire. And she did. She got down there and she started doing this. And she got going, knowing that it was going to take some time to bring it about. She stayed true to her path. For a couple of years anyway. And then the barriers and obstacles came along, the distractions came along, the controversy came along, the crises came along. And all of a sudden, when it came to it, and everything was ready to get started, people pulled away. Said, oh, we're really too busy, you know. Got too much going on. Oh, we don't really need that anymore. But they did. And she knew it. And she cried hard, called me, talked to me about these things. She had a lot of guilt and shame for doubting, for not really allowing Spirit to give her the confidence that she needed to stay true and to look for new friends. new families, new people who believe in these things. Instead, she kept trying to hold on to those old relationships with people who were only concerned about what if it all goes bad, instead of what if it all goes right. Instead of believing in the dream, and trusting in Creator. Well, I reminded her that there is no right or wrong, good or bad. God's not going to punish us for doing anything like giving up. But we punish ourselves for that. And so now she's living with the regret of never having followed through with this vision that God gave her. And that's the sad part. And in this time of year, in this holiday season, this is a time when many people do doubt. They go through the motions, put on a show of happy, joyous, and all that. But inside they feel weak. They feel doubt about whether or not God, like the Thessalonians, is really going to stay with them. And so we have to ask ourselves, what does it take? Like Paul had to challenge the Thessalonians, what does it take to really stay strong to our faith, to stay strong to the path? Well, for that we go to Psalm 126. We look at what they were talking about here. Now, this psalm, and a lot of people consider this psalm to be a gratitude psalm. It is a little confusing because it starts out that everybody, God's done this great thing for the people of Israel, and everything's wonderful, and then you go into the second verse there, second stanza, verse 4, where restore our fortune sounds like a plea to God that, oh man, everything's gone down the toilet, and we're going to need help getting it all back again. And they're calling for God to do it. They're waiting for God to come in and change everything. Just like the Thessalonians, they were sitting there waiting and challenging Paul, like, well, is Christ really going to come back? Is things going to get better? We're going to sit around here and wait for him to show up and make everything all right. And Paul says, just like these guys right here, they're saying, hey, things are going to get better. We know they're going to get better because they've been better before. Because God has done it. And that's the part that we know is true. And what Paul is saying is, what does it take to keep the faith strong? Right out the gate he says, keep praying. When you stop praying, you allow spirit to be shut down within you. You allow the distractions to take over. You allow the indecision, the indecisiveness, the naysayers to become your new boss. To take control of your power. You surrender yourself to them versus to Spirit, to God. Confidence, trust, belief in yourself, belief in God, and belief in Spirit comes when we quit waiting for God to make it right. We quit waiting for Christ to come back and realize that Christ is already within us. And God is already within us. And Spirit is already within us. And that we are the ones who share the presence of Christ right here. So, when you think about that, you think about, what if it does all go right? Because I know it will. We're the only ones who set ourselves up for trouble. We're the ones who have the power to bring life to the dream or to destroy that dream in the community in which we live. And so, pray, remember, and have confidence in your belief and in yourselves that you can make a difference. Knowing that God has already given you everything that you need to make it happen. And when you do that, you will remember that we choose to present the living presence of our Creator and bring hope in the people to fulfill those dreams and those visions. Just as Christ fulfilled His dream and His vision in giving of Himself that we may live. Walk in beauty.